The Iron Horse bar was alive that night. The jukebox blared, glasses clinked against heavy wooden tables, and cigarette smoke curled through the air like restless ghosts. Laughter roared over the hum of engines outside, and the leather-clad men inside looked every bit like the outlaws. Parents warned their children about 15 bikers gathered in knots, telling stories from the road. Tattoos flashed under neon lights, boots thudded against the floorboards, and the air smelled of beer, sweat, and gasoline. For men who had lived through prison terms, bar fights, and bloody feuds, this was peace. And then the door opened. At first no one noticed. The pool balls cracked, the jukebox wailed an old rock song, and a woman at the bar poured shots for Snake and Tank. But then the figure stepped fully inside, and the room went silent. It wasn't a cop. It wasn't a rival gang. It was a child. A boy, no older than 7, stood frozen in the doorway. His shirt was torn, his lips swollen, and purple bruises climbed up his small arms. In his fist, he clutched a bundle of crumpled dollar bills, 7 in total. His eyes scanned the room nervously before fixing on the biggest man there. A towering figure with a long beard and a patch that read President. Richard. The boy's voice was tiny, but in that silence it carried like a gunshot. Will you kill my stepdad for me? The bar went dead still. Snake's drink froze halfway to his mouth. Tank lowered his pool cue. The jukebox's song kept playing, but no one heard it anymore. These were men who had heard confessions, threats, even dying last words. But never this. Richard slowly rose from his chair. His boots thudded heavily against the floor as he crossed the room. He knelt until his tattooed face was level with the boy's. His voice was low, almost gentle. What's your name, son? The boy swallowed hard. Tyler. Where'd you get those bruises? Tyler. The boy's lip trembled. My step. He beats me. Beats my mom too. But tonight was real bad. He said he's gonna kill her. Richard's jaw tightened. The room darkened with fury. Hardened criminals who had stared down police rifles and rival gangs shifted uneasily in their seats. This a child standing in front of them, desperate enough to buy a murder for 7 wrinkled dollars, hit harder than any bar fight ever could. Tyler opened his fist. The crumpled bills shook in his tiny hand. I have $7. Will that be enough? Richard's chest tightened. This wasn't just a plea. This was desperation. A boy had walked miles through the night, searching for killers to save his mother. Around the room, the bikers exchanged looks. Some furious, some heartbroken, all of them deadly serious. Richard's voice came out steady but sharp as a knife. Tyler, where does your stepdad live? The boy lowered his gaze to the floor. His voice cracked as he whispered. The blue trailer. At the end of Maple Road. Every man in that bar knew the place. The trailer park was a breeding ground for meth dealers, addicts, and men with nothing to lose. Even cops patrolled it in pairs. Richard's stomach turned as he studied the child. The bruises weren't old. A purple welt ran across Tyler's cheek. Dark shadows colored his ribs beneath the thin fabric of his shirt. The boy's shoes had holes, his socks were damp with mud, and his small hands shook as though holding the money was heavier than lifting a chain. Tank cursed under his breath. Razor slammed his glass down so hard it shattered. Snake muttered, son of a bitch, and gripped the handle of his knife. Richard raised a hand to quiet them, his eyes never leaving the boy. How'd you get here, Tyler? I walked, the boy whispered. It's 2 miles, but I couldn't stay. He said tonight, he's gonna kill her. I couldn't let him. The words hit like a hammer. For years these men had seen women with black eyes, children with quiet fear in their eyes, cops who looked the other way. But hearing it this raw, from the mouth of a child, it set something deep inside them ablaze. Tyler's lower lip quivered. His tiny shoulders sagged. Please, please help my mom. I'll give you the money. Richard reached out, gently pushing the boy's hand back down. Keep it, son. $7 doesn't buy death, but it might buy something better. The boy's eyes shimmered with both hope and fear. Around him, the bikers shifted. Every man in the room felt it. A decision was about to be made. The room stirred. Snake muttered, cops won't do a damn thing. Not till she's dead, Tank growled. So let's end it now. Put him in the dirt. Richard stood, raising his voice. No. The room froze. Richard's glare cut through the smoke. Killing's easy. But if we kill him, that boy grows up knowing he bought death for $7. That's not what he needs. What he needs is protection. Real protection. The men shifted, restless. Bikers weren't saints. They weren't known for mercy. But Richard had been their leader long enough to know when violence would poison a soul instead of saving it. Doc, Richard barked. From the corner, a heavy-set man stepped forward. Doc wasn't a doctor anymore. He'd lost his license years back for stealing meds, but he still knew more about broken bones than most of the staff. He crouched in front of Tyler, gently lifting the boy's shirt. His face went pale. This kid's got cracked ribs, maybe internal bleeding. He needs a hospital. The room erupted with curses. Snake kicked over a chair. Tank punched the wall. Hardened criminals, men who had stabbed rivals without blinking, now shook with fury at the sight of one boy's injuries. Tyler flinched at their rage. Richard quickly put a steady hand on his shoulder. Easy, son. We're not mad at you. We're mad at him. Just then, sirens wailed in the distance. Every biker stiffened. Cops meant trouble for men with records. But the sound wasn't heading their way. It screamed, toward Maple Road. Richard's phone buzzed. He answered, his face darkening as he listened. There's been a shooting at the trailer park. Tyler's knees buckled. His small voice cracked. No, my mom. Please. The room exploded into chaos. Every man reached for his keys, his vest, his weapon. Richard roared above the noise. Asterisk, everyone rides. Now. Asterisk 15 motorcycles roared to life in the parking lot, engines shaking the ground like thunder. Tyler clung to Richard's waist as they tore down the highway, headlights splitting the night. They broke every traffic law on the books. Red lights blurred past. Cars swerved out of their way. To anyone watching, it looked like an army of demons charging into battle. When they reached the trailer park, flashing red and blue lights painted the night. Police cruisers and ambulances lined the street. Neighbors clustered outside, murmuring. The bikers pulled up in formation, engines snarling, cops stiffened, hands drifting toward weapons. The tension was thick, one wrong move from exploding. Sheriff Johnson stepped forward. He was no friend of the banditos, but he wasn't stupid either. He raised a hand. Richard, you can't be here. Richard's voice was steady, low, dangerous. The boy's mother, where is she? The sheriff hesitated. Then, softer, she's alive. She's in that car, but her husband's not. Tyler gasped. Mom. Across the lot, a woman with tangled hair and bruised skin sat in the back of a police cruiser. Tears streaked her face when she saw Tyler. She reached out, but the door was locked. Meanwhile, paramedics wheeled a man toward an ambulance. Tyler's stepdad, blood stained his shirt. A bullet wound burned through his shoulder. Handcuffs clinked around his wrists. The sheriff explained quickly. Neighbor heard the fight. Old Vietnam vet. He saw the man beating her with a bat. Shot him in the shoulder to stop it. Tyler sagged against Richard. Relief and fear crashed together in his small chest. His mother was alive but not safe yet, and then came another blow. A social worker stepped forward, crisp suit and cold eyes. The boy goes into foster care. Immediately Tyler panicked. No, don't take me from my mom. The social worker reached for him, but Richard stepped between them. His voice was a growl. Back off. Sir, I'll have you arrested for interference. The worker snapped. Try it. Richard shot back. In an instant. 15 bikers formed a wall around Tyler. Leather, tattoos, steel. The cops tensed, hands on holsters. The air was electric. Seconds from bloodshed. Sheriff Johnson raised both hands. Enough. Everyone stand down. His eyes darted, calculating. Arrest 15 bikers now, or find another way. Minutes ticked like hours until headlights cut through the night. A car door slammed, and Richard's wife hurried forward. She wore no leather, no patches, just a nurse's scrubs, and a calm authority. I'm a licensed emergency foster parent, she declared, flashing paperwork. Tyler comes with me. The social worker sputtered. That's highly irregular, but legal, she interrupted. Check your rules. After tense silence, the worker relented. Tyler collapsed into her arms, sobbing with relief. For the first time that night, Richard let out a shaky breath. The days that followed blurred into chaos. The old veteran who had fired the shot was arrested. Though half the town whispered he was a hero, Richard and his men pooled money, hired a lawyer, and stood behind him at every hearing. Tyler's mother faced charges. 2. Domestic assault for swinging a knife in defense. Richard fought for her too, refusing to let the system bury another victim. But he wasn't done. Battered, bandaged, but unbroken. He posted bail within days, and he swore vengeance. One night, as the bikers gathered in their clubhouse, Tyler reached into his pocket and pulled out a cracked old phone. His voice was quiet, but steady. I recorded him. Everyone turned. On that phone were 17 videos, beatings, screams, bruises, all captured in shaky hands. Dates stretched back months. Enough evidence to bury the man forever. The prosecutor's jaw dropped when he saw the files. New charges, dozens of counts, bail set at $500,000. The stepdad wasn't leaving prison this time, but darkness has long arms. The stepdad's brothers came hunting, guns in hand. Rage in their eyes, they rolled into town in the dead of night. 3 trucks pulling into a motel parking lot where Tyler and his mother were staying. But they weren't alone. 15 motorcycles already waited, engines rumbling like thunder. The brothers stepped out, guns flashing. But the sight before them froze their blood. Leather steel. 15 men who feared nothing. No shots were fired. No words repeated. By dawn, the brothers were gone. Some said they fled town. Others whispered they were buried deep in the desert. Richard only smirked. They decided to relocate. For health reasons. Either way, Tyler and his mother were safe. Months later, in a courtroom packed wall to wall, the stepdad sat in chains. He tried to sneer, to act tough. But every time he looked up, he saw them 15 bikers in the back row, staring like wolves. The jury returned in less than 2 hours. Guilty. 15 years in prison. No parole. Tyler sat between his mother and Richard's wife, clutching their hands. He didn't cheer. He didn't cry. He just exhaled, as though a weight heavier than his small frame had finally lifted. Richard knelt after the verdict. You asked us to kill him, son. We didn't. Do you understand why? Tyler nodded slowly. Because if you did, you'd be like him. Richard's throat tightened. Out of the mouths of children came truths men spent lifetimes trying to learn. The years rolled on. Tyler healed. His mother rebuilt her life. The bikers became family. They showed up at school, plays, birthdays, holidays. Snake carved turkeys with a Bowie knife. Tank gave motorcycle rides through the countryside. Laughter filled spaces where screams once echoed. At the bar, above the counter, hung 7 framed dollars. Beneath them, the night we chose to be protectors instead of killers. Whenever strangers asked, Richard would only smile. That's the most valuable thing in this bar. Those dollars bought us a chance to do something right. Years later, Tyler was grown with children of his own. One night, he sat with Richard at the bar, staring up at the frame. "Tell me," Richard asked softly, "why'd you keep those $7 all these years?" Tyler smiled faintly. "Because those $7 weren't money. They were hope. They bought me more than help. They bought me family. They bought me guardian angels who looked like demons." Richard raised his glass, eyes burning. To the $7 that changed everything, the men roared their agreement, engines echoing outside, hearts bound by loyalty stronger than blood, and so the legend lived on. Sometimes the most dangerous men make the best protectors. Sometimes family is chosen, not given. And sometimes, the smallest act, a child offering 7 crumpled dollars, can transform killers into heroes.